Hi everyone, my name is Jan Wegener and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. When Nikon called me a few weeks ago to ask whether I wanted to test out the Z6 III in the field and make a video for the launch, I instantly said yes, even though I had a lot of other things on my plate. But I thought the Z6 III was going to be a very important camera because it should finally enable Nikon users to have a well-priced mid-range camera that can be combined with their fantastic lens offering, especially for us wildlife photographers. And after using the Z6 III in the field for a little while now, I must say Nikon has done a fantastic job. We have amazing video features in the camera, we have a great new EVF, we basically have an unlimited buffer even when we're shooting full RAW in JPEG, which is amazing to see. And we get Nikon's fantastic image stabilization with the long lenses as well. That has allowed me to do a lot of handheld video even at 1200mm. So all around a fantastic camera. To me, the Z6 III is a perfect second body to a Z8, for instance, because it uses the same batteries, or it's also a fantastic all-around camera for people that want a camera that can do many things very well. Personally, I would likely use the Z6 III as a creator kind of camera because it has that front-facing screen and it will allow me to easily film myself in the field, for instance. What I find interesting when looking at the reviews on YouTube and comparing it to my own experiences with the camera in the field is that perspective really matters, and what you're photographing in your review will heavily influence the results you're getting with the camera. For instance, I always say that Nikon image stabilization is amazing and the IBIS works so well with their long lenses. But then in a bunch of other reviews I can see where people say the IBIS is not so good, but they are mainly using shorter lenses. So it seems like with long lenses the IBIS is perfect and I can do handheld video shake-free basically, but on shorter lenses people seem to have more issues. So depending on what you intend to do with the camera, the experience of the same tool, the IBIS in this case, can be quite different. The same is true for the autofocus. In basically all reviews I've seen that the autofocus is pretty much amazing and nails every single shot. And I definitely had fantastic results with the autofocus as well. But most reviewers were just shooting people, whereas I was shooting birds. And for birds in particular, Nikon has left out an important feature that we find in the Z8 or the Z9, the bird subject detection mode. So my personal experience with the autofocus was that it was good, but I could feel the lack of the bird detection mode that I'm used to. So overall, I got fantastic results with the camera. And look at that kingfisher image, for instance. You couldn't get that with bad autofocus. But at the same time, I was getting more inconsistent results compared to Z8 or Z9, for instance. And that's kind of different to what a lot of other reviewers were saying. And this is why I think it's great that Nikon is giving these cameras to a diverse range of photographers, me included. And they also don't mind that I sometimes say things that they might not like to hear, but are the truth, because I want to always share my true experiences with you in the field. And so if I say I miss the bird detection mode, it's probably not something that they really love to hear, but at the same time, they don't mind me saying it because it gives everyone a better experience. You know exactly what you're in for, and I can also share my true thoughts and feelings with you guys. In saying all that, my own perspective matters as well in the reviews and what I actually compare the camera to. For instance, if I compare it with the Z6 II, the Z6 Mark III is far superior in basically every way, and the autofocus has come such a long way that it's super usable now in the field and you can get amazing results with it. But if I compare to the Z8 or the Z9 that have a dedicated bird mode, I feel like there's a little bit of room for improvement in the Z6 III. So that's why I think it's important if you're looking for a new camera to check out a few different reviews and especially find reviews that review the camera in a way that you would want to be using it as well. So for instance, if you want to use it for bird or nature photography, checking out my review or Steve Perry, for instance, is a better idea than checking out some other reviews where people are mainly photographing other people. When reading through the comments, it seems like a lot of you guys are also interested to see how the Z6 III compares to the Canon R6 Mark II, because both of these are well-priced, very capable mid-of-the-range cameras. I don't want to give away too much just yet, but I think there's definitely different philosophies in the two cameras. For instance, on Nikon's side, they made sure that it has amazing video features like 4K 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second in full HD, something that the R6 Mark II can't do. But on Canon's side, for instance, they decided to put basically their very best autofocusing system into the R6 Mark II. So there's a little edge there, especially when it comes to detecting very small subjects all over the viewfinder. So how the two ultimately compare and which camera gives you the best results, you'll have to subscribe and see my video coming up. But for now, I can say both of these cameras are definitely very capable, but there's also distinct differences between the two. So what are your thoughts about the Nikon Z6 III? Have you ordered one? Are you going to get one? Let me know in the comments. A lot of us Canon shooters have also been wondering, when is the R5 Mark II finally going to be announced, and when will the R1 be available? And according to my sources and people who have actually held the cameras in their hands already, it seems like right around July the 17th might be the big day, and apparently for both cameras. Now, I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty confident in the information. So it seems like we have to wait another 3 weeks or something like that to actually see the cameras and then eventually be able to hold them in our hands. But it's definitely exciting days ahead because I expect big things from both cameras. Now, it's pretty much confirmed that the R1 will only have 24 megapixels, so I'll see how I feel about that and if I'm going to get one and how I'm going to feel about it in the field. But at the same time, it seems like a camera where Canon put a lot of effort into making or giving it an amazing autofocusing system, and great autofocus is definitely something we all enjoy, isn't it? When it comes to the R5 Mark II, we basically have most of the specs confirmed as well. 45 megapixel stack sensor, 30 frames per second, hopefully good IBIS and not so much rolling shutter. And another thing that I loved using the Nikon Z6 Mark III was obviously the unlimited buffer. Now, I don't expect the R5 Mark II to have an unlimited buffer, but I would love to see a camera that doesn't hit the buffer a lot like the R5 does if you shoot a lot of action. And then the biggest obstacle currently in Canon cameras is that once you hit the buffer, there's a long delay before you can actually shoot again. When I say long, it might sometimes be only 1 or 2 seconds, but it definitely feels like an eternity in the field if you hit the buffer and then you're prevented from shooting for a short period of time and the action might be gone. So these are areas that I would definitely love to see addressed in the R5 Mark II, and they hopefully are, and we're going to find out very soon. There's been a lot of talk about Adobe lately as well, abusing their terms and conditions to spy on their users pretty much. And as a fallout from that, they've changed their terms and conditions a little bit now, but it's still a little bit iffy in certain areas. And so it was interesting to see that the US government has also started to sue Adobe, not for the terms and conditions so much, but because they made it very difficult for users to actually get out of their yearly subscription plans. So hopefully with an extra sharp eye on Adobe, some of the things will change and will actually benefit us users a little bit more, because let's be honest, in the end, we're basically totally dependent on companies like that give us things like Lightroom or Photoshop. If I didn't have those programs available, it would be a lot harder for me to edit my files and get great results. Speaking about great results and Adobe, if you want to get confident when it comes to image editing and get beautiful images, especially when it comes to editing in Photoshop, I would highly recommend that you check out my pro sets, my masterclass, and my brush packs. My pro sets allow you in Photoshop and Lightroom to get amazing results with just one click from your raw files. And in my masterclass, I teach you step by step everything you need to know in Photoshop to get amazing results. And with my brush pack, I make layer masking in Photoshop so much easier. So if that's of interest to you, make sure to check these out down there in the description. What do you think about Adobe and its antics trying to get more and more of your privacy and using your images for training AI, for instance? Is that something you say, well, it's a necessary evil, or is that something that you're strictly against and you're looking for alternative? I'm gonna go on a bigger trip very soon, and I also meet my friend Glenn Bartley from the bird photography show later on this year. And so I've been getting a few new items that I need to take on the trip with me. The first thing is that I'm starting to upgrade to the new faster CF Express cards, like this ProGrade card, for instance, that doesn't necessarily give me higher speeds in the camera or writing to the buffer, but in combination with the new card reader, for instance, I'm now able to download my images much faster. On the computer, it basically cuts down my downloading time in half. So with the Z6 Mark III, for instance, I was out in the field 2 or 3 days in a row taking 15,000-20,000 photos. And downloading all these always takes a little while. And then having a card that cuts down the downloading time and waiting time in front of the computer considerably is definitely something that I quite enjoy. So I think going forward, I will only buy these faster cards now because there's basically no downside to it. And this gold card, for instance, doesn't even cost much more than the other cards. So basically, I'm future-proofing myself because for now, the cameras can't really deliver the faster speeds, but maybe the next generation of cameras already will. And then instead of being stuck with older cards, I already have faster cards that not only be faster in the camera then, but also faster on the computer. And I can already take advantage of the faster cards. If that's something you've done as well, let me know in the comments. Or are you sticking with the slower cards for now, saying that's good enough for me at the moment? Speaking of things I got, my friends from Naive also sent me their latest backpack, a 40-liter backpack that also has the option to be extended into a 50-liter backpack with this nice little compartment here at the top. It's actually hard to fit this backpack into the view, but if I lean back, you might be able to see it a bit more. And it's a really nice size, especially if you just want to take one or two zoom lenses with you. So in there, for instance, I have the large RCI, and that fits my 200 to 800 millimeter lens and 100 to 500 millimeter lens, and 2 or 3 camera bodies, for instance. So it's definitely a nice size to just walk around if you're going on a little hike and not taking like one of the big 600 millimeter lenses. And it also, of course, fits into the carry-on. And I'm also using in the field at the moment the Naive Fjord 60-liter backpack. And so far what I like the most about these backpacks is not only that I can fit my 600mm lens in it with an attached camera, but I also enjoy that I can basically be a lot more weatherproofed with these backpacks. In the past, when it rained, my backpacks usually got pretty wet because I'm not usually someone who carries the raincoat with them. I always leave them in the car or forget them at home. So having these Naive backpacks now that are a lot more weatherproofed, and even in the rain, I'm not really getting my gear drenched, is definitely something that I enjoy. Speaking about items I got, I also couldn't resist getting another extra small RCI, one of their camera back inserts. But what I like about it is that you can also get it with a shoulder strap that attaches to it, and then it becomes its own little bag. And for instance, it perfectly fits my 100 to 500 millimeter lens with an R5 attached. So it's a neat little bag if I just want to put something in my car, for instance, or I just want to take this camera and lens with me, for instance. At the bottom here, you might also see the last edition of what I've recently gotten, and this is some new NovoFlex lens plates. I've had so many lenses and cameras lately that I ran out of lens plates, so I got myself a few nice looking lens plates. I especially like the colors, and they're also nice and light. And on top of that, they also come with a little thing called Q-stop that a friend of mine developed. And you can slide this on top of the lens plate. And for instance, for lenses that only have one screw in the middle, it goes on top of the foot and then stops the lens plate from twisting around. So that's definitely a neat little invention. And I think overall, these plates just look quite nice. So whenever I need a lens plate, I'm definitely putting one of these on now. And I've linked all these items for you down there in the description, especially for the Naive backpacks. There's also a special discount code for you there, NatureBag10, that gives you 10% off. And on this note, I think it's time to wrap up this week's early bird photo news. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, have you bought any camera gear lately? Any backpacks, lens plates, maybe new cameras, maybe Z6 Mark III? Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up for the video. Check out my channel membership and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye.